Hello and welcome to the Round 8 preview as the Carlton Football Club take on the Brisbane Lions on Friday night, Marvel Stadium, 7:50 p.m. It's on. This is a big test. This is a important opportunity against a quality opponent. The Lions are going well. They're going okay. At the end of the day, they're a contender. And they've been a contender and they've been thereabouts for the last few years now. So can't be taking them lightly, clearly. You don't take anybody lightly. But I think the Lions especially, this is a team that I respect because of their seniority and they play within their system really well. And the narrative around us, well, there's so many narratives around us, but the narrative around us for me this week is, okay, great. Got a little bit of a pressure release with a confidence boosting win last week against the Eagles. And I was kind of crying out to see something replicating our best footing. I think we got that. And I'm really curious to see what exactly round 7 means and what it stands for. And I think we're going to find out Friday night. Coming off a 108-point win, yeah, the guys finally started just figuring out how to move the ball, it seems. There is a little bit of perspective needed with it, given where West Coast are in their development. But also at the end of the day, you got to give credit where it's due. And we needed to see better ball movement. I think we had shown that we could win the ball. I think we had shown that we could defend, but we hadn't quite shown efficiency in the forward half or the forward third. So we tick that box, but now you've got to be able to do it against the quality opposition. And Brisbane, the last time we played them, this is one of those few teams that we're going to play over the next 4 to 6 weeks, where the last time we played them is really at the back end of the year. So obviously, our final 4 games last year included the Lions. It was a disappointing performance. It was up at the Gabba. And we all know what happened in that game, and we all know what happened after that game. So we put it to the side. Some things that are working in our favour are the fact that Dane Zorko and Daniel Rich will miss, which will clearly be big losses for them, given the quality of players that they both are. I'm a little disappointed at it, to be honest, because I want to be able to play every team at their best, and so it can give us a true reflection of how we stack up. But at the same time, you've got to take your wins where you can get them. We're also missing a few players that we would like to have as well. But relatively, I think for the most part, we're healthy. I think for the most part, we're healthy at this point. The injury list is looking a little better. And I think it's an interesting discussion around, do you bring certain players back straight away who seem to be healthy? I know Cottrell is there. I know Jordan Boyd is there. Matt Owies, there is a question. Do you bring him straight back in after his layoff with his injury? My perception of our injury list is that as much as it's good to see some of these players back, I still think we probably want to get a few weeks of game time in them before they come into the side. But we're going to see what they do with the teams shortly. How much do you change a team that has won by 108 points? Well, that's the question. In my mind, I would probably only make a couple of changes. I was on the team selection show on the Pommy and Oz YouTube channel last night, and me together with the other panelists and the chat, we kind of had the same thinking, and it was that Josh Honey would potentially come out for Jesse Motlop, who served the 1-game suspension. And then the question was, does Ed Curnow play? Does Matt Kennedy play? Does Matt Kennedy start as a sub again? My inkling is that Matt Kennedy's in our best 22 if everybody's fit. I think Ed is thereabouts. So I would probably be bringing in Matt Kennedy for Ed Curnow and really getting a look at our best 22, because there's not many missing from our best 22 right now, and that's an exciting prospect. So now it's around, all right, they're there for the most part, got to get some continuity with them and got to get them some more experience against these good sides. So that's the story from our end. From a selection point of view, I'll leave that to you in the comments. I'd be curious to see, what do you think about selection this week? Are you mindful of making too many changes to a team that won by as much as we did last week, or do you have other plans? So let me know in the comments below what you think around the team, and also how you feel about this week. Things aren't fixed yet. I think if you just circle back a fortnight ago, there was a lot of question marks around the urgency of the group. From me, especially, I was curious around the urgency. I think we saw a tick in round 7. So round 8 is really the story for me. And really, it's the next month. The next month we come up against better opposition who will test us in different ways. And I think we'll find out exactly what the progress of the group has been. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, it's a Friday night under the roof. I'm a bit confident this week. I don't want to get caught in the trap, but also I know we're capable of beating the Lions this week. But I also know that the Lions are going to test us in ways that we probably haven't been tested too many times this year. They are disciplined. I've watched them. I find what I've seen from the Lions is they've won games. They've done a pretty good job. They've had a few disappointing performances, but I find that their midfield hasn't clicked in the same way that what it was last year. Now, obviously, you bring in Ashcroft, you bring in Dunkley. I find a guy like McCluggage, for example, hasn't quite hit his straps this year. So there might be a little bit of just teething issues with getting their synergy together. Whereas I think, on the other hand, our midfield over the last few weeks, especially since Sam Walsh came back, it started to show a little bit more progression with its synergy. I think a few weeks ago they were winning the ball, they just weren't using the ball very well. And then last week we seemed to be able to win the ball and use the ball relatively well. So I'm hoping that continues. I don't know. I've got this good feeling about Friday night. I've got a feeling like it's all set up for what we saw a little bit in round 10 last year against the Swans. But obviously I don't want to get too caught up in that thought. But I do have a good feeling about it. I'm excited to go there on Friday night. Like I said, there's a bit of a pressure release from last week. There are a few other narratives around that are interesting because we seem to follow trends a lot. You know, it's the Carlton Respects game. We are 0-7 in Carlton Respects games. It's a milestone game. Sam Doherty, there's a narrative around that we don't play well in milestone games. So again, why do we need to succumb to the narrative and why can't we control it? That was a big part of what we heard from Vossi in a lot of the media grabs that we saw throughout the preseason. You know, we don't get dictated the narrative, we control the narrative. And that's what I hope Friday night is, a real chance to just consolidate what we've done last week, consolidate what we've done for the majority of the year. We've built into the year, I think, and the hope is that this is the beginning of a little run. Got to keep on top of that ledger, got to make sure that we're above 500. And this potentially could be a really good win for the confidence, more so than last week because of the quality of opposition. So, yeah, that's the important part for me. Matchups are going to be important. You know, they've got two big forwards, just like what we do. I would back our defenders in against their forwards. It's probably their small/medium types that I think are going to be an issue. You know, Charlie Cameron's dynamite and under the roof, you know, perfect conditions for him to do his thing. But I'm confident that we have the cover for him, whether it's Nick Newman, Adam Sard, I think we can cover that. Jack Gunston looms as one who's got some really good experience. He's got some tricks about him as well. So he's one that we need to be mindful of. And then from our end, our forward line, it's moving along. We had a really good performance last week from Charlie Curnow, obviously. Harry Mackay's been under a little bit of, I don't know if we call it a confidence cloud. But I really do back in the work that he does every week and away from footy and in his own time to know that it's coming, and he still works hard. I think he played a very selfless role last week that probably didn't get appreciated as much as what it could have. So we just, again, need to be mindful of the way we kick the ball inside 50, because if it's too high and if it's too long and if it's too predictable and if it's slow, it's just going to play right into Brisbane's hands. And they've got some pretty handy defenders down there who can take plenty of intercept marks. So let's see what happens. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Got juice again. Got a bit of life about me. And I hope it's not sucked out of me on Friday night. But, you know, we're going to ride the highs. We're going to ride the lows of the season. It is what it is. we try our best not to get too emotional, but at the same time, the emotion is what makes us so special as a supporter base. So the balance is everything. I'll see what you say in the comments. I'm curious to see where you're at mentally with this game, and what you think. I know that there are a few of you that believe that round 7 was just another game. And I know that there are a few of you that believe that we're all set up perfectly for a nice little run. So document that. We'll chat about it in the comments and go from there. Go Blues.